Yavuz, and tenured Professor Mark Safman of Atomic Molecular Optical. Newlyprofessored Robert McDermott, and tenured Professor Mark Erickson of Experimental Condensed Matter. Couples for today. Now here's your host of the Newly Professored game, Bob Eubanks.
Hello, welcome to the Newly Professored game. This is the game where we pair a new professor and a tenured professor in the same field and find out how much they know about each other. We have previously recorded each contestant's answers to a variety of questions. Today we will ask their partner the same question and compare their answers to the recording. If their answer matches the recorded answer, their team will earn 5 points towards the grand prize. So listen carefully, and remember, each answer that you both agree upon will get you 5 points closer to the grand prize. You ready to go? Our first question is for atomic, molecular, and optical. Professor Yavuz, where did Professor Safman get his PhD?
University of Colorado at Boulder.
Okay, Professor Yavuz says that Professor Safman got his PhD at the University of Colorado at Boulder. Let's go to the video for confirmation.
Boulder, Colorado.
Now let's give condensed matter a turn. Professor Erickson, what does Professor McDermott want most for Christmas?
Tenure.
Wants tenure for Christmas. Let's see what Professor McDermott said.
Full-scale quantum computer, all the bells and whistles.
Oh, unfortunately, Professor McDermott actually wants a full-scale quantum computer with bells and whistles. I'm not sure which one of those is thinking bigger. This is for AMO again. Professor Safman, what was your most influential publication?
An optical soliton interaction.
Professor Safman says that his most influential publication was an optical soliton interaction.
Well, I can't remember any.
That was harsh. Let's move on. Question number 4 is for condensed matter. Professor McDermott, what is Professor Erickson's favorite childhood book?
Goodnight Moon.
Hey, Professor McDermott says that Professor Erickson's favorite childhood book was Goodnight Moon. Let's go to the video and find out.
Cryogenic scanning probe microscopy for semiconductor nanostructures.
Erickson's favorite childhood book was Cryogenic Scanning Probe Microscopy for Semiconductor Nanostructures. He was a big reader. Question number 6 is for atomic, molecular, and optical. Question number 5, I skipped one, is for condensed matter again. Let's give you guys a chance to get on the board. Professor Erickson, where do your graduate students spend most of their time?
In the lab.
Professor Erickson says that his students spend most of their time in the lab. Let's see what Professor McDermott's thought about where Professor Erickson's students spend their time.
Secured to the wall, with some chains and straps.
chance to take the lead. Professor Yavuz, how long do you think it will be before you get tenure?
3 years.
3 years. Before Professor Yavuz gets tenure, let's see what Professor Safman said.
Not in my lifetime? It's gonna be a while.
Professor Safman says that Professor Yavuz will not get tenure in his lifetime. This is a really rough game. All right, the final question, which may be the tiebreaker, goes to Professor McDermott. Who recruited you to the job here at the University of Wisconsin?
Well, that was Mark Erickson.
Professor McDermott says that Professor Erickson recruited him to the job here at the university. Let's see what Professor Erickson had to say.
He
Met Professor Coppersmith.
at
State Street Brass.
he was
Talking to people.
about
Brass. Yes. Brass.
to eat
Brass.
Sadly, you guys do not agree on your story. Well, that's the last question for the game. It looks like we had a tied score. What about the grand prize? Well, you could split it if we had one. Unfortunately, we have no grand prize, so that's the end of our show today. Thank you, my friends.